battle of the Ks between Delhi and Mumbai. Kishan for Mumbai, Kuldeep for Delhi. Both of them contributing. The real question is their net result. Whose favour has it gone in? It's an excellent total, but is it a total that will blow the opposition out of the water? Let's remind you what Mumbai, after being put into bat by Rishabh Pant, have finished their 20 overs on 177 for 5. Yeah, the 1K we talked about. Ishan Kishan, 81 of 48. And what a spell from Kuldeep Yadav to make sure the damage was not even greater than that. 4 overs, 3 for 17. And certainly when you talk about confidence, he's picked up some confidence for the rest of the season. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live. Now, there will be, of course, many Mumbai fans who will be reacting to that. But on a personal note, I have to start the show by saying it's a good feeling when you make a prediction that's not a round figure. Ajay, of course, has his set figure that he goes to with a bit of inflation. Thank you, Shaun, for the round of applause. 177. Not even a 170 or a 175. But the real question is, and what's more important, Shaun, how will Mumbai feel about 177?
Yeah, I think they'd be happy. I suppose the fact that your opener's at the crease for the entire innings and everyone else bats around, and maybe you're thinking we could have got just that little touch more. But I didn't see any gremlins in the surface. I was expecting it would have been a fresh surface to maybe seeing the ball nip around. There wasn't a prodigious turn. I thought Kuldeep Yadav bowled superbly well. And as you can see there, it was like a consistent performance. There was no real patch where they found themselves getting a little bit stuck. So that tends to suggest decent surface. And I think it's competitive. Whether it's definitely enough, I wouldn't say that at this stage. I think Delhi will have to bat really well. But I don't think Mumbai will be unhappy. But in saying that, I also don't think Delhi will think that they're done and dusted.
Well, Mumbai needed Ishan Kishan, Ajay, to stay till the end. They're a team who are known for their kick at the end. But that's the Mumbai with Hardik Pandya and Kieron Pollard following. Not following. Kieron Pollard and Mumbai and Kieron Pollard and Hardik Pandya in full flow.
Yeah, I think that was one of the worries, when Hardik Pandya left, Kunal left, and, you had a whole change of the guard. But what we saw, I'm with Polly on, maybe they're not so happy with that total at the end. They could have got more. But I think a couple of things that came out that they would be happy about is that period that you're talking about. Where there was Tim David only showed us, glimpses of what he can do. But, when you strike one each, now Pollard's got out early, but Pollard will keep doing it for you, though you have the confidence in him. So as a team, the new things that you were looking at, I think all of those, they'd probably be very happy. I don't think the last 4 overs will change much. Whether Hardik was there or not. Yeah, Hardik's a very special player, not trying to take anything away from him. But I think they've found a solution there. The other thing they'd really be happy about is Tilak Verma. I think Tilak Verma is somebody that they've, also banked on. They fought for him. They believe in him. So he, also has not got a big score. But, the glimpses that you saw today, I think everything worked out for them. And on top of that, if there was any doubt, the cricket team was thinking differently. The owners were thinking differently. They bidded for Ishan Kishan. They didn't look at the team. He's paid back as well. So I think overall, they'll probably be happy. And don't forget, they're never used to winning that first game. They're definitely short of some runs in this game.
Yeah, that's a trend that Mumbai have. We've looked at that so many seasons down the line. And if Mumbai do win their first game, if anything, fans in Mumbai get a little bit worried. So in a sense, they'll be looking at that as a score saying, let's just go out and play this the best we can. But yes, Ajay mentioned Ishan Kishan. We talked about Ishan Kishan's fat wallet at the start of the show, Shaun. Obviously, he's not thinking too much about that. But the fact that he stayed till the end is what I think will please him most.
Yeah, I would say the word maturity comes to mind. Sometimes we've seen him as a bit of a dasher and maybe he's committed a bit of batting suicide at times. But that looked very composed. I thought he was good up front. He also maneuvered his body around the crease nicely to set up the certain areas that he wanted to take down. I'm really impressed. I think for him it's fantastic. It'll just settle him into the tournament as well. You talk about the price tag. Once you've got that first 50 under your belt and you've got a decent score, I think that'll really help him a lot. I think that partnership at the top of the order for Mumbai, when you look at the order, especially with Surya not there at the moment, it's so vitally important that they get off to a good start, and that's good signs.
Yeah, but on the other side, the reason why they perhaps haven't got to 200 plus with that kind of an opening stand, Ishan Kishan batting till the end, and cameos from Tilak Varma and Tim David is Kuldeep Yadav. We briefly talked about him on Cricbuzz Combox, but I think overall finishing the spell and very craftily, Ajay. I was a little perturbed when I saw Kamlesh Nagarkoti come back to bowl that 13th over, but it was obvious he was holding Kuldeep Yadav back possibly for his 4th over against Pollard, and it worked.
Yeah, and definitely worked because that one wicket makes a big difference. Whether you go for it or not, over here, over there, that really made that big impact. But see, he started off pretty well. I mean, Rohit Sharma, who's brought him back into Indian cricket, he believes in him. He actually gave it to Kuldeep as well. That's where the confidence grew. Then Anmol Singh, the young man, was around when he was bowling that spell. But as you rightly said, I think it was that 4th over that really could tell you that, Kuldeep Yadav, what he's feeling like. He's a very emotional man. We've seen him on the ground. He expresses his emotions. So what you saw today was a confident man, or, he believed in something, or he had a plan at every stage, which is the key. Because if you believe that something's going to happen good for you, it has more chances of it happening, because at least you're trying to do something. And I think it was exceptionally good today. Slight change, you see a little release much later, things like that. But I'm glad to see, because this man has been through a real tough time. Last time he was on the field with KKR, he was in tears. So it's nice to see he's got some joy today.
Shaun, you mentioned it briefly on Combox, but it was really that first wicket that started things off. The emotion that Ajay just spoke about all came out. It all flowed over after he got that big wicket of Rohit Sharma to start with.
Yeah, it did. And we also discussed the pace. We've always said he's maybe just a bit slow through the air. He seems to have found the right pace, particularly for these surfaces. So that's good signs for him. Yeah, you change franchise. You want a new start. You want an opportunity where people will believe in you. You pick for the first game, and you've almost earned yourself 2 or 3 games where no one's going to analyze your performance as well, because if you can produce what he did. He also had the caught and bowled that was dropped, so he created stuff for them, and that's what they need. They need that little bit of mystery, and they've got some good bowlers. If it's a surface that turns, that can be accurate, but if you've got a surface that's decent, that little mystery, the variations, is so key in the middle overs for Delhi.
The other point you made, Ajay, was about assessing a bowler and looking at his performance, but also assessing the entire bowling unit. The 2Ks did well for them, Kuldeep and Khalil. But overall, if Ajit Agarkar, their new bowling coach, had to sit in that dressing room and give a report card to the entire bowling unit, they'd feel that they've got a few things maybe to work on going forward in the tournament.
Yeah, always room for improvement. You can always do better. Now look, if I look from Delhi's point of view, when they would have started the day, they would be worried about what? You'd be worried about how Kuldeep Yadav's going to go. That's an uncertainty. How Khalil Ahmed was going to go. That were the 2 things. And you'd want, them to just contribute and make sure that the old guys, the guys who've been around, whether it's, Akshar Patel, he's the only one left from that last year's bowling attack. So you would not worried about him. So the numbers will change. I don't know how, Delhi sees it, because the roles have changed. You see Shardul Thakur on, when you look at those numbers, it looks really bad. But, this is what Shardul Thakur does. And if you use him as a prime bowler, which is the case that they did today, start right at the top and then right at the end, then the numbers probably will go closer to what you're seeing today. I think they'd be happy, because, for a captain or a team that didn't get off to a good start, the opposition, which is a great batting side, gets to 60, 70 odd with no wickets down. And if you still manage to hold them back where they've held them, I think overall they'd probably be happy. But individuals, there's always room for improvement.
Shaun, I asked
what I would say is that they wouldn't be too concerned. And the reason why is Nagarkoti. I mean, he disappeared. He goes for 30 and 2. They just played the 2 overseas guys. The reason why, you've got the Fizz, you've got Ngidi, you've got Norkia, all waiting to come into the mix. I think Safad probably misses out once you've got Marsh and Warner at the top of the order, and then they'll reinforce it with some bowling in those middle overs. So I think that was where the weakness was. Nagarkoti was trying to maybe bowl too quick, trying to be too explosive, and he disappeared and he let a bit of the pressure off. But yeah, you won't read too much of it, because the quarantine will be done, won't it, by the next game? And they've got a choice of those 3 who are fantastic. I mean, the Fizz, for example, his variations, Norkia, his pace. I don't think I'd be overly concerned.
Yeah, and of course, the fact that Nokia and Gidi are South African, no bias there. But Sean, let me just finish off by asking you the question that I asked you earlier. Shardul Thakur as lead bowler. Was it a case today also of maybe it's a fact that he bowled the toughest overs in the game?
Yeah, he did, and once again, I don't think he'll open the bowling once those other guys are back. There's a good chance that he fits into the role that he did for Chennai, where it's like maybe one or two at the back end of the six, and then comes in the middle, and maybe doesn't have to bowl to death. So I think his role will change as well. So I wouldn't be too upset with him. It is the difficult overs, and he started off well, and then that fantastic. He went for 2 sixes at the back end of both his first 2 overs, which did some damage.
Well, the run chase now 178 to get in 20 overs for what looks like a very decent Delhi lineup on paper. Cricket's not played in paper, we keep telling you. So just looking at this lineup, Ajay, how much confidence, if you're sitting in Delhi supporting your team, does it give you? I mean, there's enough explosive players in there. Prithvi Shaw, Tim Seifert, Robman Powell, Rishabh Pant, and they bat down to Akshar Patel and Shardul Thakur.
Yep, there's enough firepower there to chase down any total that you want. The only thing, if I was, had to worry, I'd say, who's the guy who holds this innings together? I know Rishabh Pant's playing very sensibly. So there's no problem for Delhi to get to this total unless they lose wickets at the top. And I think that's what Mumbai would try and do. If you lose wickets at the top, then even this total will be daunting, because if there is any help, it's right at the top. And in the evening at Wankhede, at Brebon, with that sea breeze coming, it does move. So I think it's first 3-4 overs for me. Otherwise, if you don't pick up wickets, Delhi should get to that total.
Who's going to pick up the wickets? Jasprit Bumrah, obviously, the talisman leading the attack, Shaun Pollock. What about the rest of the bowlers who are going to be stepping onto the park? And they've already stepped on the park. He'll be in the company of Daniel Sams, Taimal Mills, both experienced franchise bowlers. And then you've got Basil Thampi, who's done his job for a different franchise. And of course, they can turn to Murugan Ashwin, Tim David, Kieron Pollard. Enough options.
Yeah, plenty of options. It's more about who fills that role. I mean, we've seen Trent Boult do a fantastic job at the top of the order, often with the ball shaping. Who can match it? Bumrah, you don't have to worry about. He'll be great. He'll be really good. He'll hit his straps quickly. But it's who can play the fiddle, and that's the key for Rohit Sharma as captain. You now have to work out. They had their sort of combination, didn't they, for those first 6? Boult for 2, Jasprit for 2, and then they'd mix it up with whoever else was playing. Now you've got to find who those people I can turn to. Who's the ones we can bank on in those first 6 overs. And then once the 6 is done, then you just go with the way the game's going, the way the surface is playing, and who's having a good day.
And let's not forget, he used to love using Krunal Pandya in those first 6. I mean, we see him bowling sometimes even 2 overs, slip them in quickly before you know what's happened in the power play. So he won't have that option anymore. Not sure if Murugan Ashwin quite fills that like-for-like role for the moment. But Sean, you've been in the Mumbai camp enough. For the moment, this match, which camp would you rather be in at this stage?
I think runs on the board, first game, the other batting order. For me, Saifelt and Powell, a bit of an unknown entity, a bit of pressure on them because what, are they going to play 1 game or will they get 2? I think that's the key, and that's where I think Mumbai will hold the advantage, that their 2 overseas players probably put too much additional pressure on themselves.
Yeah, Ajay, for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Like I said, it's the first 4 overs. If they don't pick up wickets, I don't see this total being daunting for Delhi, because the approach that Delhi has, the way they play, it's, all or nothing. So, their batting has so much power. They'll never be short of runs. It'll only be if they lose too many wickets, and too many, I mean by they need at least 3 in the first 7-8 overs.
The other news as we leave you on this show is that Aryan Jewel, who is one of the members of the bench, he's a wicketkeeper batsman who's part of that Mumbai squad. He has donned the gloves. So we hope all's well with Ishan Kishan. Obviously, he'd be tired after those 20 overs, but hopefully nothing else other than just a bit of fatigue. So Aryan Jewel with gloves in hand, and it's Daniel Sams with the opening over. That's all we have on Cricbuzz Live. We'll join you in the 10th over for Cricbuzz Combox. And then, of course, in between the 2 games, big doubleheader, we'll be also talking about what's going to happen at the DY Patil Stadium. For now, that's all from Cricbuzz Live.